The U-Haul storage unit smelled of dust and forgotten dreams, a metallic tang clinging to the air as Elena's boots scuffed the concrete floor. She stood frozen, heart pounding, staring at Sophia's silhouette against the flickering fluorescent light. In that moment, the world outside their small Ohio town, its whispers, its judgments vanished, leaving only the two of them, alone, in a space that felt both like a prison and a sanctuary. Elena had always been the cautious one, the planner, the one who weighed every consequence before taking a step. At 28, she was the daughter of a conservative pastor, raised to believe love followed a script: man, woman, marriage, kids. But Sophia, with her fearless laugh and unapologetic heart, had rewritten that script the moment they met at the community college art class 3 years ago. Sophia, 30, was a wildfire, bold, unyielding, with a past she wore like a badge of survival. Her green eyes held stories of heartbreak and defiance, and Elena had been drawn to her like a moth to a flame. They weren't supposed to be here. Not in this storage unit, not in each other's orbit, not in love. Yet here they were, surrounded by cardboard boxes stuffed with Elena's old life photo albums, childhood trinkets, and clothes she'd packed when she left her father's house after he found out. "You're confused," he'd said, his voice cold as he handed her a Bible. "This isn't God's plan." But standing here, watching Sophia's fingers trace the edge of a box labeled Elena's past, she felt more certain than ever that love didn't need a plan, it just needed to be. "I can't believe you kept all this," Sophia said, her voice soft but teasing, breaking the silence. She pulled out a faded Polaroid of Elena at 16, grinning in a cheerleader uniform. "You were adorable. Still are." Elena's cheeks flushed. "Stop it. I was a mess back then." "No," Sophia said, stepping closer, her eyes locking onto Elena's. "You were you. You just didn't know it yet." The air between them crackled, heavy with unspoken words. Elena's pulse raced as Sophia's hand brushed hers, a fleeting touch that sent a jolt through her body. She wanted to say something, anything, to bridge the gap between fear and desire, but the weight of her father's words, the town's stares, and her own doubts kept her silent. Sophia, though, had never been one for silence. "Elena," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper, "we don't have to hide in here forever. You know that, right?" Elena swallowed hard. She'd spent months sneaking around with Sophia's stolen glances at coffee shops, late-night drives to nowhere, kisses in the shadows of empty parking lots. But this storage unit, rented under Sophia's name to store Elena's things after she moved out, had become their refuge. A place where they could be themselves, if only for a few hours. Tonight, though, felt different. Tonight, Sophia's eyes held a question, a challenge, and Elena wasn't sure she was ready for the answer. "I'm scared," Elena admitted, her voice barely audible. "What if we're wrong? What if thy sus ruins everything?" Sophia's lips curved into a small, sad smile. "What if it doesn't? What if this is the only thing that's right?" Before Elena could respond, Sophia stepped closer, closing the distance between them. Her hand cupped Elena's cheek, warm and steady, and Elena felt her resolve crumbling. She wanted to lean into that touch, to let go of the fear that had held her back for so long. But the weight of her past, her father's disapproval, her mother's silence, the town's gossip pressed against her chest like a stone. "I don't know how to do this," Elena whispered, her eyes searching Sophia's. "I don't know how to be us." Sophia's thumb brushed against Elena's cheek, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized she'd shed. "You don't have to know," Sophia said. "You just have to try." And then, in a moment that felt like both a beginning and an end, Sophia sank to her knees in front of Elena. The concrete was cold, the air still, but Sophia's gaze was unwavering. She reached for Elena's hands, holding them tightly, as if anchoring her to the earth. "Elena Marie Carter," Sophia said, her voice steady but thick with emotion, "I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm not asking you to be fearless. I'm just asking you to stay. To choose us." Elena's breath caught in her throat. She looked down at Sophia, at the woman who had become her safe harbor in a world that felt like it was always watching, always judging. In that cramped, dusty storage unit, with the weight of her past stacked around them, Elena felt something shift inside her, a spark of courage, a flicker of hope. "I want to," Elena said, her voice trembling. "I want to choose us." Sophia's smile was radiant, like the first light of dawn after a long night. She stood, pulling Elena into her arms, and for the first time in months, Elena let herself believe that love could be enough. But outside the storage unit, the world was waiting, and it wasn't kind to women like them. The next morning, Elena woke to the sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She blinked against the sunlight streaming through the blinds of Sophia's tiny apartment, a one-bedroom rental on the edge of town that smelled faintly of lavender and coffee. Sophia was still asleep beside her, one arm draped across Elena's waist, her breathing soft and steady. For a moment, Elena let herself linger in the warmth of the moment, the memory of last night's promise still fresh in her mind. But the buzzing persisted, and when she reached for her phone, her stomach dropped. A text from her father: "We need to talk. Come to the church at noon." No warmth, no greeting, just a command. Elena's heart sank. She hadn't spoken to her father in weeks, not since the argument that had driven her to pack her life into boxes and leave. She knew what this was about. He'd heard the rumors small towns had a way of turning whispers into wildfires. Sophia stirred, her green eyes fluttering open. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice thick with sleep. Elena hesitated, then showed her the text. Sophia's expression darkened, but she squeezed Elena's hand. "You don't have to go," she said. "You don't owe him anything." But Elena shook her head. "I need to. If I don't, he'll keep pushing. He'll show up here or worse at your shop." Sophia ran a tattoo parlor downtown, a small space filled with her artwork and the hum of needles. It was her sanctuary, her rebellion against a world that had tried to break her. Elena loved watching her work, the way her hands moved with precision and care, turning skin into canvas. But the shop had already been vandalized. Onsi a brick through the window with a note that read "Freak," and Elena couldn't bear the thought of bringing more trouble to Sophia's door. "I'll go with you," Sophia said, sitting up. "You're not facing him alone." Elena wanted to protest, to keep Sophia safe from her father's judgment, but the look in Sophia's eyes, fierce, protective, stopped her. "Okay," she said softly. "But promise me you'll stay calm. No matter what he says." Sophia smirked. "No promises." The church was a looming brick building with stained glass windows that cast colorful shadows across the pews. Elena's father, Pastor David Carter, stood at the pulpit when they arrived, his face a mask of disapproval. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered, with graying hair and eyes that could cut through steel. Elena felt like a child again, standing in his shadow, but Sophia's hand in hers was a lifeline. "Elena," he said, ignoring Sophia entirely, "I've been praying for you. For your soul." Elena's throat tightened. "Dad, I'm not here to fight. I just want to live my life. Your life." His voice was sharp, echoing in the empty sanctuary. "This isn't a life. It's a sin. You're throwing away everything, your family, your faith for her." He gestured toward Sophia, his lip curling. Sophia stepped forward, her voice steady. "Her name is Elena, and she's not throwing anything away. She's choosing to be happy." "Happy?" Pastor Carter scoffed. "You're leading her astray. You're an abomination." Elena flinched, but Sophia didn't. She stood taller, her eyes blazing. "Call me what you want, Pastor. But don't you dare make Elena feel like she's less than she is. She's stronger than you know." The words hung in the air, a challenge and a truth. Elena felt a surge of pride, but also fear. Her father's face reddened, his hands clenched into fists. "Get out," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Both of you." They left without another word, the heavy church doors slamming behind them. Outside, the autumn air was crisp, the leaves a riot of red and gold. Elena's hand shook as she leaned against Sophia's truck, her breath coming in short gasps. "Hey," Sophia said, pulling her close. "You did it. You faced him." "But he's never going to change," Elena said, her voice breaking. "He'll never accept us." Sophia tilted Elena's chin up, her eyes soft but resolute. "Then we make our own family. We don't need his approval." Elena wanted to believe her, but the weight of her father's words lingered. As they drove back to Sophia's apartment, the town seemed to close in around them, every storefront, every passing car a reminder of the life Elena was leaving behind. She wondered if love was worth this cost, even as Sophia's hand rested on her thigh, grounding her. That night, they returned to the storage unit. It had become their ritual, A place to escape the world's judgment. Sophia lit a small lantern, casting a warm glow over the boxes. "We should unpack some of this," she said, half joking. "Make it ours." Elena laughed, the sound shaky but real. "What, like a home?" "Why not?" Sophia said, pulling out a box labeled Memories. "This could be our castle. Just you and me." As they sifted through Elena's past old letters, a high school yearbook, a locket from her grandmother, Elena felt the weight of her father's words begin to lift. With Sophia by her side, she could imagine a future where love wasn't a battle, but a promise. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance between hope and fear. Elena moved in with Sophia, her boxes slowly finding a place in the cramped apartment. Each night they fell asleep tangled in each other, whispering dreams of a life where they could walk hand in hand without fear. But the town had other plans. Rumors spread like wildfire. Elena, the pastor's daughter, shacking up with the tattooed rebel. At the grocery store, eyes lingered too long. At the diner, conversations hushed when they entered. Elena felt the weight of every stare, every whisper, but Sophia wore it like armor. One evening, as they closed up Sophia's tattoo shop, a group of teenagers lingered outside, their laughter sharp and cruel. "Faggots," one of them muttered, loud enough to be heard. Sophia's jaw tightened, but she kept her cool, locking the door with steady hands. Elena, though, felt the word like a slap, her face burning with shame and anger. "Don't let them get to you," Sophia said as they walked to her truck. "They're just kids. They don't know any better." "But they do," Elena said, her voice trembling. "They know exactly what they're doing. And so does everyone else in this town." Sophia stopped, turning to face her. "Then let's leave. We can go somewhere new, Chicago, Seattle, anywhere. We don't have to stay here." Elena's heart ached at the thought. Leaving meant abandoning her mother, her friends, the only home she'd ever known. But staying meant fighting a battle that seemed unwinnable. "I don't know if I'm ready," she admitted. "This is all I've ever known." Sophia's eyes softened. "I know. But you deserve a life where you're not hiding." That night, they returned to the storage unit, their sanctuary. Sophia had started decorating it, stringing fairy lights along the walls and setting up a small folding table with candles. It was absurd, turning a cold concrete box into something warm and intimate, but it felt right. They sat on a blanket, sharing a bottle of cheap wine, and talked about the future dreams of opening a new shop together, of traveling, of building a life where love wasn't a secret. As the wine loosened their tongues, Sophia pulled out a sketchbook, her fingers smudged with charcoal. "I drew something for you," she said, flipping to a page. It was a portrait of Elena, her face soft and unguarded, her eyes bright with hope. "This is how I see you," Sophia said. "Not as the pastor's daughter, or the girl this town wants you to be. Just you." Elena's eyes welled with tears. "No one's ever seen me like that." Sophia leaned in, kissing her softly, then fiercely, as if she could pour all her love into that single moment. Elena melted into her, the world outside fading away. In the glow of the fairy lights, they made love on the blanket, their bodies a quiet rebellion against a world that told them they were wrong. It was tender, desperate, and perfect, a moment that felt like it could hold forever. But forever was fragile. The next morning, Elena woke to a voicemail from her mother. Her voice was soft, strained. "Elena, your father's sick. He's in the hospital. He's asking for you." Elena's heart stopped. She hadn't spoken to her mother in months, not since she'd chosen silence over defending her daughter. But the thought of her father, stern, unyielding, but still her fatherlying in a hospital bed, shook her to her core. "I have to go," Elena told Sophia, her voice hollow. Sophia nodded, her expression unreadable. "Do you want me to come?" Elena hesitated. She wanted Sophia there, needed her strength, but the thought of her father's reaction off the hospital staff's stairs made her stomach churn. "I need to do this alone," she said finally. Sophia's face fell, but she nodded. "I'll be here when you get back." At the hospital, Elena found her father in a sterile white room, his face pale, an oxygen mask over his mouth. Her mother sat beside him, her eyes red from crying. "He had a heart attack," she said quietly. "He's stable, but it was close." Elena sat across from her father, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. His eyes opened and for a moment they softened. "Elena," he whispered. "I thought I'd lost you." She wanted to scream to tell him he'd pushed her away, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she took his hand, feeling the weight of years of love and pain between them. "I'm here," she said. "But I'm not who you want me to be." His grip tightened and for a moment she thought he might understand. But then he said, "Come home. We can fix this. You can still be saved." Elena's heart broke all over again. She stood, tears streaming down her face, and left without another word. Elena drove straight to the storage unit, her vision blurred with tears. The hospital visit had left her raw, her father's words echoing in her mind. You can still be saved. She didn't want to be saved, not from Sophia, not from herself. But the pull of family, of duty, was a chain she couldn't fully break. Sophia was waiting for her, sitting on the blanket with the fairy lights casting a soft glow. She stood as Elena entered, her face etched with concern. "What happened?" she asked, pulling Elena into her arms. Elena buried her face in Sophia's shoulder, letting the tears come. She told her everything: the hospital, her father's plea, the weight of his expectations. Sophia listened, her hand steady on Elena's back, her silence a quiet strength. "He thinks I'm broken," Elena said, her voice muffled. "He thinks I need fixing." Sophia pulled back, her eyes fierce. "You're not broken. You're the most whole person I know. And if he can't see that, that's his loss." Elena wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at her. What if he's right? What if I'm making a mistake? Sophia's jaw tightened, but her voice was soft. "Do you love me?" Elena's breath caught. "More than anything." "Then that's not a mistake," Sophia said. "It's the truest thing you've got." They sat together in the storage unit, the world outside forgotten. Sophia pulled out her sketchbook again, showing Elena more drawing sketches of them together, of a future they could build. A small house by the coast, a garden filled with wildflowers, a life where they could be free. Elena clung to those images, letting them anchor her against the storm of her father's words. But the storm wasn't over. The next day, Elena's mother showed up at Sophia's apartment, her face drawn and tired. "Elena, please," she said, standing in the doorway. "Your father's getting worse. He needs you." Elena's heart twisted. She looked at Sophia, who stood silently by the kitchen counter, her expression unreadable. "I'll go," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm not going back to who I was." Her mother nodded, tears in her eyes. "I just want my daughter." At the hospital, Elena found her father awake, his eyes clearer than before. He reached for her hand, his voice weak. "I'm sorry," he said, the words catching her off guard. "I've been hard on you. I thought I was protecting you." Elena's throat tightened. "Dad, I love her. That's not going to change." He closed his eyes, a tear slipping down his cheek. "I don't understand it," he said. "But I don't want to lose you." It wasn't acceptance, not fully, but it was a crack in the wall between them. Elena held his hand, feeling the weight of years of conflict begin to shift. She didn't know if they could ever fully reconcile, but for the first time she felt like they might try. When she returned to Sophia's apartment, she found a note on the counter. "Meet me at our castle." Elena smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in days. She drove to the storage unit, the familiar scent of dust and metal greeting her as she opened the door. Sophia was there, kneeling on the blanket, a small velvet box in her hands. Elena's breath caught. "Sophia, what?" Sophia looked up, her eyes shining with love and fear. "I know it's fast. I know the world's against us. But I want to build a life with you, Elena. I want you to be my home." She opened the box, revealing a simple silver ring. Elena's heart pounded, tears streaming down her face as she knelt beside Sophia. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Yes." They fell into each other's arms, the storage unit transforming once again into their sanctuary, their castle, their promise. The ring was cool against Elena's finger, a tangible reminder of the life they were choosing, no matter the cost. The ring on Elena's finger felt like a secret only they shared, a quiet rebellion against a world that didn't understand. They didn't tell anyone, not yet. The town was still a minefield of judgment, And Elena's father, though recovering, was far from embracing their love. But in the storage unit, under the glow of fairy lights, they planned their escape. Chicago, they decided, a city big enough to lose themselves in to start fresh. Sophia's tattoo shop could thrive there, and Elena could finish her degree, maybe even teach art someday. Packing up their lives was bittersweet. Elena sifted through her boxes, deciding what to keep and what to let go. Each item was a piece of her past, but with Sophia by her side, she felt ready to build a new future. They laughed as they sorted through old photos, cried over letters from Elena's grandmother, and danced to music playing softly from Sophia's phone. The storage unit, once a place of hiding, had become a place of dreaming. But the world outside wasn't done with them. One night, as they loaded boxes into Sophia's truck, a group of men from the church appeared, their faces hard with anger. "You're not welcome here," one of them said, stepping forward. "This town doesn't need your kind." Sophia stood her ground, her arm protectively around Elena. "We're leaving," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You don't get to decide who we are." The men didn't back down, their words growing sharper, their postures threatening. Elena's heart raced, but she stepped forward, her voice steady. "I'm not ashamed of who I am," she said, her hand finding Sophia's. "Not anymore." The men hesitated, taken aback by her defiance. After a tense moment, they backed off, muttering under their breath as they disappeared into the night. Elena's hands shook, but Sophia pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "You were incredible," she said. They left town the next day, the truck packed with their belongings and their dreams. The storage unit stood empty, a relic of their past, but also a testament to their courage. As they drove toward Chicago, the open road stretching before them, Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The town, her father's church, the whispers, they were behind her now. In Chicago, they found a small apartment with a view of the city skyline. Sophia's shop flourished, her art drawing a diverse crowd who celebrated her talent. Elena enrolled in school, her days filled with color and possibility. They built a life together, piece by piece, their love a foundation stronger than any judgment they'd faced. Years later, they returned to the storage unit one last time, on a visit to see Elena's mother, who had slowly begun to accept them. The unit was just as they'd left it, dusty, empty, but filled with memories. Sophia took Elena's hand, her ring catching the light. "This is where it all started," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Elena smiled, pulling Sophia close. "No," she said. "This is where we chose each other." They stood there, in the place that had once been their refuge, and kissed, their love a quiet triumph. The world outside could judge, could whisper, could try to break them. But they had each other, and that was enough. In the end, love wasn't about winning or losing, it was about choosing, again and again, to build a life together, no matter the odds. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.